What's up, guys? Crimson Media Entertainment here. I am your host, Sleeve, as I am every other week because I'm the only host that this radio program has so far. And that's why everybody tunes in, hopefully, to hear my important opinions on the world as such. Tune in every week here. We are usually on Sundays, but this week was a little bit of an assignment because I had to go and assemble a bunch of clips from the E3 convention. We'll get into that in just a little bit. We also have great songs this week. We have songs from series regular Zero to Hero. They've had a bunch of tracks played on the program before, but this particular one is exciting because it's their brand new music video. I know they've been working very hard on this, and now it's actually out there on the internet. So we'd love to share it right here. It's going to be an awesome time to, be able to show it in video form right here on the program. So stick around for that. We also have two other bands on the program that Enzo has recommended to me, which are Table 4-6 and Takers Leavers. So it's going to be really exciting to play that whole lineup. It sounds like they're all friends. So this is going to be a good group of groups to group together. What do you know? A lot of grouping is the whole point of that. I'm going to go ahead and talk about E3 throughout most of this show. And once again, my name is Sleeve. You guys can follow the program on Twitter at Crimson Media ENT. You can follow us at Facebook at Crimson Media Entertainment after facebook.com/. And then you can also find our website, crimsonmediaentertainment.com. So check out all of those. And hopefully I'll see you guys on the blogs. I'll see you guys on future podcasts. But anyways, like I said, this week is going to be focusing on the E3 convention because I got passes to that, and it was a lot of fun. I'm going to tell you, I've been wanting to go to this since I was a kid. So this is a really big deal for me to be able to finally get the passes with my own name on it. I was going to show that, but it has my full name, so I don't want to reveal that to everybody. We had a pass that said Crimson Media Entertainment on it. We were getting to walk around and film. They got to show us a lot of events. And we got to document a lot of the floor, and it was really, really fun. So we're going to show you a bunch of clips from the E3 convention, which, like I said, they're going to hopefully catch your attention. There were a lot of great events, a lot of good booths, and a lot of good demonstrations. Now, I have heard some criticism from the E3 that all it focuses on is 4K, and that's all that video game companies care about. But let me tell you, I bought a 4K television a long time ago, probably about 2 years ago now, and I'm very excited to see that a lot of the systems and a lot of the hardware is finally taking advantage of it. I have a lot of pixels on this thing. I want to take advantage of every single one. So anyways, the whole point is that a lot of video game systems have been focusing on that. The Xbox One S, for example, has now been upgraded by the Xbox One X. So it seemed like a natural progression. Have you noticed that, by the way, that a lot of these tech companies are putting like the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X? You know the next one's going to be Xbox One 3, right? Or Xbox One E, just like Tesla, so they can spell out sex in all of their product line. It's a very, very obvious trick that everybody's doing. But anyways, so they're going to do the Xbox One X. It's going to do 4K. And that seemed to be the major theme, is that a lot of people are finally supporting the 4K thing. PlayStation was showing off all of their new games that you can play on the PlayStation Pro. One of the things I was expecting to see more of, and honestly I was a little disappointed that they didn't have better examples of it, was PlayStation VR. Now, I'm going to be entirely fair here, though. The PlayStation VR demos got booked up very, very quickly, so I wasn't able to bring you the whole thing. But the whole thing is that VR, I thought, was going to be the future. You wear a headset, you get to, and don't get me wrong, I have VR too. I got the PlayStation VR recently. I've been playing the Farpoint game. You've probably been seeing me broadcast a little bit of that here on the channel. But I thought that VR was going to be like the next hot button thing. So the whole point is, I thought that there were going to be booths everywhere with headsets. They were going to be showing off like all sorts of like different killer apps for it, show new uses for the PlayStation VR rifle. And the thing that I really wanted to see was VR racing, and I did get to see that. So that's the exciting thing I'm going to share on the program. But honestly, I thought that VR was going to be a little bit more a part of the program, and sadly it wasn't. There was only about 5 to 6 games that are coming out for PlayStation VR, compared to like all these huge hot button. I don't know where I keep on getting this expression, hot button. The hot titles of the moment, shall we say. There's no button involved. Well, I guess there are buttons on the video game controller. Anyways, I digress. The hot ticket item that I thought was going to be was like, the SWAT game with the PlayStation VR rifle. Because as soon as I got the VR rifle, I realized that shit was tight. All the games that support it are absolutely necessary. And the race wheel too. But you thought that there were going to be more games that were going to support that kind of thing. So I only saw one. It was like this SWAT type game. It's like Bravo Team, I think is what it's called, Bravo Alpha or something like that. And then there was this other game that doesn't support the rifle. It's called The Impatient. And it's like a horror game. You put on the headset, and it's kind of like, creepy and what have you. So it looked kind of cool. Those were the two VR titles that caught my attention. But one other thing that was kind of interesting, if you guys are fans of Bethesda, Bethesda actually has, their own line of VR products that are coming up very soon. So the cool thing about that is that Bethesda is starting to do some of their games in VR too. So for example, when I was there, let me show you a clip of this, for example. They had Skyrim, and it was on the PlayStation VR that they were demonstrating it. And Skyrim has like the two-hand thing that you do in the game. Well, let me show you how they integrated that right here. Yeah, so that was really cool. I really appreciated how you had like the two motion controllers and you were able to cast a spell with one. You see the guy go flying after you shoot the firebolt, and then you have the other controller where you can use the sword. It looked like he was kind of like clumsily hacking at that guy. The only problem I had with Bethesda's VR experience is that the graphics are pretty good, but for VR to be really effective, it has to look pretty realistic. You have to like really get like the sense of people having like faces. You have to feel like anything that's happening right in front of you is like very believable. So I just kind of didn't buy like the Skyrim universe, that it could be like a realistic one that you could jump into in VR. When you play Farpoint, for example, the face animation is very realistic. There's a lot of very texturized details. All the spiders that jump at you are very like creepy, and it really feels like you're in the experience. Whereas Skyrim, I feel like it's almost like you stepped into a video game, which is fine, but not good enough for me. It has to feel like you're really there. And for some reason, the effect, the low-res graphics kind of just lost me there in translation. But, good attempt on Bethesda anyways. Hopefully they'll be able to, come up with future VR titles that have better graphics that are a little bit more relevant to the realistic nature of video games. At least the ones that are using the headsets nowadays. The other cool thing that I wanted to cover about this, and I'll go to the first band in just a minute, but we got to see a bunch of speakers at E3. So one of the speeches that we got to hear was by the creators of the original Crash Bandicoot series. Now, I hadn't even thought about Crash Bandicoot in a long time, and then all of a sudden, while I'm hanging out and they're doing this series, look who pops up. Crash Bandicoot himself. What's up? Crash is like so punk rock to me. Like when I was a kid, I loved the Crash Bandicoot commercials. I'm sure you remember them. Sometimes he advertised Pizza Hut when he was a kid, and it was totally fine. He advertised the PlayStation console, said it was a fully 3D game, take it Mario, like it was such a funny series of commercials that they did, and I loved like the punk rock nature of Crash Bandicoot. It was just a guy in a crash chute, but he was just doing like ridiculous shit and like, saying like all these rebellious things to everyone. Trust me, that guy was my friggin' hero originally. So that was a lot of fun, but then after we got done with the conference, that guy was actually taking pictures, so I got this one right here. Got to finally hang out with a guy in a crash chute, and this guy had just as much energy as the guy in the original commercial. He was just like him and Sonic apparently had a dance-off. There was a guy in a Sonic costume, and apparently they had a dance-off. I don't have evidence of that on this program, sadly, but I have an even better dance-off that I'm going to share near the end of the program, so stay tuned for that. It looks like we are approaching the 10-minute mark, so what I want to start off with is the first band, which is Zero to Hero. Like I said, we played Zero to Hero before on the program, but what I'm really really excited about is that this is the brand spanking new music video. Like I said, the focus has been on video games. I know that Enzo is a lot like me. He grew up like, in around the same time span. We grew up like playing Super Nintendo and shit like that. So a lot of these like video game things, I know he's a fan of. I know the energy for Zero to Hero is also on point on. So who knows? Maybe someday we'll get to hear like one of their tunes in like a skateboarding video game, or I don't know. Maybe they're willing to write some tunes for the gaming industry. Who knows? I think it's a hot market right now. Apparently over $100 billion. Woo! That's a lot of money. All right, we're gonna go ahead and play their new music video right here. So stay tuned for Zero to Hero with their new music video, X's to Ashes, right here on Crimson Media Radio.
We think of time as a one-way motion from the past, through the present, and on into the future. And that carries along with it another impression, which is to say that life moves from the past to the future in such a way that what happens now and what will happen is always the result of what has happened in the past. So the course of time is really very much like the course of a ship in the ocean. And so I am producing for you a continuous line of thought. But actually I'm doing it backwards. I'm doing it always from now and connecting up what I do now with what I did so that you can see a consistent story. And that carries along with it another impression, which is to say that life moves from the past to the future in such a way that what happens now and what will happen is always the result of what has happened in the past. In other words, we seem to be driven along. But the fact of the matter is, it all starts right now.
You already know that microphone trick. That was an awesome video. Wow, that was a really a big journey. It's 7 minutes. It clocks in at 7 minutes long. It's about how much of that is story? Probably about like 2 minutes, a little bit more. But that's really bold, and I really like the whole thing. That was a great video, great effects, great story throughout it. Definitely captures the lyrical content of what Enzo is usually doing. I know that guy has, he's got a lot of lyrics in him, and I've worked in the studio with him before. He's got a lot of passion. He's definitely ready to work on stuff and bring his real truth to the studio. Definitely shines through in the artistic vision right here. I'm sure the other guys here, they definitely all contribute into the studio as well. I don't know the other members of the band that well. I know Enzo pretty well, so I can speak for him personally. The rest of the guys too, though, the music really brings through that authentic energy and passion. So great job, awesome video. Keep doing what you guys are doing. I'm sure you guys are going to start hitting the big festivals soon enough. You guys are definitely putting in the right moves. You got the right tracks and you got the right team. So, keep doing what you're doing, brothers. I definitely am a believer. My name is Sleeve, and we are tuning right along with Crimson Media Radio right here. It's the E3 edition, so I have a lot of good clips from the video game world, and there are definitely a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of good stuff that I want to share with you as far as clips and video and pictures, because there was a lot of funny stuff that happened. It's definitely going to end. What was my top E3 moment? Well, I'll share that with you in just a moment, but I wanted to go with number 3 right now, which was the Crash Bandicoot moment. The Crash Bandicoot moment, as I mentioned, I got to see, the guy who is infamously been in the commercials and been in the costume and stuff. It was really cool, and then I actually got to take a picture with him right here as well, so that was a lot of fun. Definitely a childhood geek dream come true right there. So that was a lot of fun, but the other thing that was cool, and I'm only going to touch on this lightly because I know everybody and their mother has posted this video already, but at the Talking Seminar, there was one of my favorite video game designers of all time, and I'm sure that you guys know this name. It's Hideo Kojima. Hideo Kojima is the director of Metal Gear Solid, and he was going to direct the new Silent Hill game, but unfortunately that got canceled. So he's most infamously known for his work on Metal Gear Solid, and let me tell you, he has a lot of passion, a lot of knowledge, and a hell of a directorial debut with the Metal Gear series. He is definitely one of the keynote names in video game making. So he got to come there, and let me just show the picture right here. There's him with his translator, and I'm not sure who the guy who was interviewing him was. Honestly, he was all right, but I feel like maybe he was making the questions very simple so that they were easily understood in interviews. I didn't feel like there were any hard-hitting questions or anything, but Hideo Kojima talked about his interest in space travel when he was a kid. He talked about how when he was young, he was told he was never going to get to go to space because he was a Japanese man, and so when he finally got to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, it was pretty much like soaring to the heavens for the first time, defying all of the realities that were laid out to him by his peers and his mother and father. So that's a really inspiring story. It was really cool to hear his perspective, and I'm really heartbroken that I'm never going to get to see Silent Hills. That's been one of the things I've been wanting to see forever. I don't think it's ever going to happen now. It's just going to have to leave that hole in my horror heart, so to speak. So it's I'm a big horror fan, and the Silent Hill series has always been number one in my heart. I remember the first time I ever saw the advertisements for Silent Hill. It was inside of the Metal Gear Solid sleeve. When you bought the book, sleeve. Hey, what do you know? Anyways, so when you bought the original Metal Gear, there was a booklet inside of it, and at the very back of the booklet was an advertisement for a game that simply said "Welcome to Hell," and it showed a creepy cop, and then the title was Silent Hill. That was the first that anybody had ever heard of Silent Hill, as far as I know, besides, like some industry insiders. And I was immediately hooked on the idea just by that picture. Already it seems super creepy, and the idea, welcome to hell, my God, they hooked me with that one. I grew up in a fairly religious household. I don't want to say that I grew up with any issues about that, but, I always liked kind of like more gothic, more religiously centered horror as a result of that, just because of the nature of, just because of the mysticism of my own household, let's put it that way. So Silent Hill was a home run when it originally came out. And I played every game in the series. Every single time I bought a new video game system, as a matter of fact, I bought a PlayStation 2 just so I could play Silent Hill 2. And then I originally bought a PlayStation 3 just so I could play Silent Hill Homecoming. I think that was the first time I was ever disappointed by Silent Hill, because that game was kind of boring and I didn't really like the story that much. I understand the people who liked it, but, it wasn't my cup of tea, really. Then I bought a Nintendo Wii so I could play the Silent Hill game, Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and that game, to me, was a total home run. It was a great story, a very innovative use of technology. I mean, that game was really, really emotional from start to finish, too. It was a tale about a girl discovering the memories of her dead father, pretty much, and all of the psychological abuse that she's gone through ever since. It's just a really, really, heartbreaking story, I thought. And it's all fully interactive with the Wii controller. So, you're solving puzzles by, doing stuff with the Wiimote. It was really, really cool. So Silent Hills, to me, was a home run. Silent Hill Shattered Memories was a home run. I get the people who didn't like it as much. They said that, it was like, oh, well, it wasn't a true remake of the first one. You know what? A classic doesn't need to fully be remade. Maybe they'll do it someday, but I don't think that they need to repaint the Mona Lisa quite yet. Silent Hill was. I'm always going to be saying Silent Hills. It's just like it's my Freudian slip. It's just like my heart desperately desiring that title to come out. I don't think it's ever going to happen, though, like I said. So anyways, Silent Hill set the standard with horror to me. Resident Evil was kind of like boo scary. It was like a zombie game, but Silent Hill was like, it made you feel creeped out. Like, all the enemies were creepy, all the sound effects were creepy, all the environments were creepy, and the story was just like bleak. So, it totally redefined the horror series for me, and I was kind of going over all the series. The reason why is because Hideo Kojima, the guy who I showed you a picture of, was supposed to direct the final, Silent Hill entry in the series. And it was supposed to be directed by Hideo Kojima with input by Guillermo del Toro, the guy who did Pan's Labyrinth and Crimson Peak and all these other great gothic movies. And then it was also going to have the guy from The Walking Dead. I'm blanking out on his name right now. Everybody in the world knows who I'm talking about right now anyways. But yeah, the guy from The Walking Dead was going to be in it. And then to top it all off, the original music director, Akira Yamaoka, who directed all the music for the original games and also wrote a lot of the story, apparently. This guy was going to be heavily involved in writing all the music for the new game as well. So it was like a home run. It was like everything I wanted. And Hideo Kojima, I fully trusted his ability to make something genius, especially after you played the demo PT, which I play every Halloween right here live on the air. PT is the scariest game of all time. It was a free download that was supposed to be a demo for Silent Hills, the most recent game. But as soon as the game got canceled, they took it off the store. Nobody can get it. But I still have it on my PlayStation, and I am guarding this PlayStation with my life, so I play it every Halloween just to scare myself silly. Trust me, it is the scariest experience ever. So PT came out, and then as soon as the game got canceled and Hideo Kojima had to leave it at Metal Gear Solid 5, I was just heartbroken. It was really just like a terrible experience, knowing that the best horror title of all time was getting the axe. Still I can feel that hole in my heart every time I think about this subject. So yeah, it's a huge bummer that they decided to axe that title, but Hideo Kojima is now working on some new stuff. He's been kind of secretive about the content of this new one. Norman Reedus, that's the guy who is in Walking Dead, and Norman Reedus is apparently going to be in some of the he's going to be the main character of the new content that Hideo Kojima is working on. So it looks like they're going to continue their relationship. But the thing I was really excited about was A, the Silent Hill IP, B, Guillermo del Toro, and C, the soundtrack. So, I guess I'm excited about his new title, but it's not going to be the same to me. I'm sure it's going to be great, but it's just not going to be the same. So anyway, c'est la vie to that. It was really cool seeing Hideo Kojima speak. More power to him. And then after we were all done with that, like I said, we went outside, and I had seen Hideo Kojima and Crash Bandicoot pretty much, like back to back, which was pretty much amazing. But then they actually had some video game stations where they were playing the new the Crash Insane Trilogy game, which is a remaster of all the original Crash Bandicoot games. Let me go ahead and show you a clip of that right here. So if you see this right here, there's this gentleman right here dodging boulders, and there's that mask behind him. As you remember in Crash Bandicoot, if you have a mask, that means that he'll protect you from enemies, but if you don't have a mask, then you die. So it's kind of like in Mario, it's like if you have a mask, you're Big Mario. If you don't have a mask, you're Little Mario. Kind of like that whole platform thing. But anyways, that was definitely one of the highlights of seeing the Crash Bandicoots booths. I'm definitely going to buy that game. Comes out June 30th. Check that out. As far as Hideo Kojima's new game, I don't have much information on it, so you're going to have to look that one up in the news. I know Daniel Dazjig, who watches the show and is a regular on the show, he wanted to have more information about that. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't see very much information about Hideo Kojima's new game at all. But I'm sure that there will be some info coming out in the future days. All right, so that's all about the speakers that I saw and my experience with both bumping into Crash Bandicoot and getting to see Hideo Kojima speak. All these things were friggin' amazing. But now we're going to go ahead and play another track from Table for Six. Now, Table for Six is friends with Enzo, and so Enzo recommended these guys to me, and I'm really glad that he did, because the band is really great. It's kind of like a Panic at the Disco kind of thing. It's like more like storytelling. It's got like a dramatic flair to it. Maybe a little bit of My Chemical Romance. There's a lot of good stuff going on with this. So I hope that you guys are flattered by that list, because I just go with my ear, So that was pretty much the list I got for comparisons. Hopefully you guys agree with that, but let's listen to the track, and I'll let you guys make up your own minds. Here is Table for Six right here on Crimson Media Radio.
Tomorrow
was Table for Six, and you know what? I said that it was kind of like Panic at the Disco because it had like kind of like a relationship kind of like feel to the lyrics. It seemed like it was boy girl driven, if you know what I mean. But the I don't know. I think I hear like a little bit more eclectic taste in there. Like that little guitar part at the end was awesome with the delay. That was definitely a cool addition. Yeah, I think that was a little bit more flavorful than Panic at the Disco, even. So yeah, that's awesome, guys. The singer definitely has like kind of like a panicky kind of tone, and I hope you will take that as a compliment because I think that Panic at the Disco singers actually has a very impressive range. So yeah, good job, guys. It's a great song. Glad Enzo sent it to me, and I've actually listened to the whole album now, and the whole album's actually really great. It tells a great story from start to finish. If you guys are into listening to entire albums, I definitely recommend this one. I know that people are very like single driven right now. They're downloading like the hot track off of the new album, but honestly, I kind of miss listening to just like entire albums, ones that tell stories and have artwork and stuff like that. Actually, I really miss it. I'm not even going to sugarcoat this. I really goddamn miss it, and I wish it would come back. I wish more people would write out stories on their albums, and I wish that it would be more like, you know, kind of like a full experience kind of thing. Maybe we'll see that in the future, but you know, I think that right now it's just, you know, music's lost a lot of value because it's so readily available that people are trying to make like the most crack like songs to get like the most you know, the most hits and plays and everything. So when people like really take a step back and like, you know, do things musically, it's a little bit harder to get people's interest, I think. So you know, I hope that that doesn't deter these guys from continuing their story like writing, because I think that it's really important and I think that they're doing it great. So you know, keep on doing you guys. Keep on doing you is the point. My name is Sleeve, and we are on Crimson Media Radio. You guys are about 35 minutes in, and we, once again, we're playing Table for Six. This is the E3 special, where we're talking about our experience at the E3 convention last week. It was so fun. So fucking fun. I can't even, like, emphasize that enough. You have to throw a swear in there just to, like, be like, it was so fucking fun. It was, like, the most amazing thing I've ever done. The reason why it's like so amazing is because the video game displays that they have there are just out of control. I mean, like if you've ever been to like Toys R Us when you were a kid and you saw like the Super Nintendo display, you were already like, wow, you know, they have like all these games around me and here's a Super Nintendo. When you go to E3, it's like all of the video games that you played as a kid blown up to life-size proportions, and there are displays everywhere with all these games to play. There's all these interactive demos and theaters and, you know, like 20-foot tall figurines of the characters from the games. It's just an incredible experience. But I'm going to go to my number one experience in just a little bit, because I do have a number one experience for the whole thing. But I think that one thing that's really, really, really important to bring up right now was the racing experience. Because let's face it, everybody who knows me, and I don't like to like brag about this in like a way like, oh, I'm a car guy, but I love cars. Like honestly, I'm all about engines, I'm all about speed, I'm all about grip of the tires, I'm all about torque, I'm all about the engine roar. And I'm a Tesla guy. I really like Tesla a lot, the electric car. You know, honestly, I know that that goes against like all the people like, oh, I'm a car guy, an engine guy, but that doesn't, just because I like cars doesn't mean that I could fully take one apart and repair it. And that's kind of why I like Tesla, is because it's so easy. It's like really, you know, about like, I don't know, less than 100 moving parts on the entire thing compared to like 5,000 mechanical parts on like a Mercedes-Benz. It's really, really a less complicated picture. But racing simulators, I mean, racing simulators? I haven't drinking enough water. Let's go ahead and take a sip, shall we? And then I'll get back to talking about race cars and not sound like I just inhaled a bunch of helium. Propel water, remember that? I don't even know like what it means when it says there's electrolytes in there. That kind of actually creeps me out. I should stop drinking that. All right, anyways, the point is I love racing simulators. There's a lot of good ones that are coming out, but what they're finally taking advantage of that I've been waiting for is the VR headset. Now, the VR headset is absolutely like where it's at right now. As I said, with the PlayStation VR, even though it doesn't have a lot of games or support yet, the ones that are good are really good. And that was the first thing that I had gotten to see when I was there, was the PlayStation VR racing. So let me go ahead and show you a clip of that. You can see right here. Oh, that's Thrustmaster. There we go. All right, so this was the PlayStation VR. They had this awesome little display right here, and you can see right. Actually, let me turn up the microphone a little bit. There we go. So you can see right here that you have the headset on, and then as you drive, you really get immersed in the experience. You'll see that in just a second. You can see my lovely assistant donning her headphones right there. And as she turns her head, you can see there's like a flat screen in front of her. I don't know if anybody's ever tried PlayStation VR, but when you're using menus, it's kind of like there's a TV in front of you and it's stationary. So whenever you turn your head, it's just like a theater screen that's just like in front of you. So anyways, but when you start driving, that's when it gets interesting. Oh wow, this video is about 4 minutes long. Sorry for the delay right here. But yeah, let me actually pull myself back up. So the whole point is that while you have this headset on right here, you can like look around, you can see like the trim of the car and everything. It's really, really cool. And the awesome thing about it is that when you have the when you finally have like all of that going on, like you forget that you're like playing a video game. You're really just like tuned into the car. The only problem is when you crash into something, you really like expect yourself to like, make an impact with the wall. So, the Thrustmaster or the PlayStation controller will go all crazy like, and then, you'll get like kind of like that disoriented feel. Let me go back over here really quick. Yeah, there we go. You can see, oh wow, it's still loading up the racetrack. Shame on you guys. So yeah, you can see like all this fancy Dan symbols and loading screens and what have you. There we go. So she's getting tuned into the race wheel right here. It shows all the instructions on how to use the... and by the way, the PlayStation wheel is going to be sold in stores at the same time as the game coming out. So you can get kind of like both of them. All right, here you can see it start up. It's going to go ahead and get a start. She's driving. I mean, you can already see like the appeal of this, right? Yeah, there she goes, like tailing tailing the AI driver right there. Try to get a little bit closer in so you can see what this is like. Yeah, I mean, this is really like racing simulator. It's apparently like good enough to train actual race car drivers with. So that's what's incredible about all this. She's able to like, use this. And if she played this game long enough, theoretically, she could just hit the track and like be just as much of a pro. And as I said, like having this headset right here is completely immersive. You forget that you're playing a video game. And what's amazing is that I didn't get motion sick playing this game at all. It would seem that one would get a little bit motion sick playing this, but that was not my experience. When I was playing this, I honestly was really in tune with the steering wheel, with my surroundings. So I really had a good time doing this one. I thought that was actually not at all, kind of like a disorienting experience. I was just locked in with the car, honestly. So well done by PlayStation. The Gran Turismo headset is honestly, or Gran Turismo headset supported is a lot of fun. So I highly recommend that one. They also had I was starting to play this video right here, but they also had one for the Thrustmaster. That sounds like a sex thing almost. The Thrustmaster wheel is this one right here. They base it on the Ferrari wheel, and it's actually not too bad. We tried this one too. Unfortunately, I didn't have an assistant to help me film this one. I had to go to the last day by myself. But this one right here was actually pretty good. The feedback was well done, and especially when you have the seat, the racing seat, it doesn't feel like strange or out of place at all. So the Thrustmaster was definitely pretty cool. But let me show you what was absolutely the king of the racing experience at E3 that day. That would be at the Forza event. Now, Forza 7 is coming out, and as I said, they're like bragging about how 4K is the new thing. It's going to be on Xbox One X, and it's going to have like the best physics and the best graphics ever. And I do believe that after looking at the graphics, that's absolutely true. But what was amazing about the Forza experience was the fact that they had an entire GeForce simulator to go with the game experience and race wheel. So not only did you get a race wheel with feedback and everything, you had literally like something that would like, when you accelerate, you feel the G-force of going backwards. When you brake, you feel the G-force going forward, left, right, all that. Let me just show you what I'm talking about because this shit was insane. It's this one right here. My God. You see this nice man driving it right here? Yeah, this is another one I couldn't get a video of, but let me tell you, this was fucking fun. This is like all that I've ever wanted in a racing simulator for like my man cave, like since the dawn of time. So, fuck yeah, this thing right here is really killer. That was absolutely the racing winner of E3. I hope they get this in arcades. I hope they get this thing down at, what's that one? That one arcade that everybody likes to go to. Anyways, it's the one in the malls, and maybe Dave and Buster's. So yeah, I hope that they start getting these in local arcades so that we can actually play Forza with full G-force, because let me tell you, that's what everybody wants to play. I'm just assuming that on what I want, but I think what I want is pretty universal, honestly. It's just a lot of people don't have the guts to admit that they want everything that they want. So I admit it, I want a race car simulator that's perfectly realistic, and I want it in my man cave, but if I can't have it in my man cave, I will drive down to GameWorks. GameWorks, I'm always forgetting the names of certain things today. That's probably because I haven't eaten lunch yet, that probably does nothing for your memory. All right, so that was the best racing simulator of the E3 show. Absolutely. Hats off to you guys. Actually, I can't take my hat off right now because I'm wearing headphones, so I'll take my hat off later to you guys. And in the meantime, we're going to have a newcomer for the bands as well. Now, here's another Friends of Enzo band. They are called Takers Leavers, and they are actually a really, really great band as well. I've been listening to them lately. I think you guys will see why all these bands are friends very soon. I think that they click very well, and it's a really cool vibe that they have all developed together. So it's cool that Enzo's out there looking out for these guys, and it's cool that these guys are passing along each other's tracks. So let me go ahead and start this up. We're going to go ahead and play Takers Leavers for the first time on Crimson Media Radio. Thank you again, guys, for letting me play your track, and hopefully you guys who are listeners to the show who are hearing them for the first time, I hope you guys do like it, because I liked it quite a bit. Here is Takers Leavers here on Crimson Media Radio.
Yeah, but do you consider a dog to be a filthy animal?
I wouldn't go so far as to call a dog filthy, but they're definitely dirty. But dogs got personality. Personality goes a long way.
So by that rationale, if a pig had a better personality, he would cease to be a filthy animal. Is that true?
Well, we have to be talking about one charming little pig.
Give up the ghost.
That was Takers Leavers. Very nice song. Actually, now that I'm listening to it, I hear a little bit of similarity to Every Time I Die. I actually love Every Time I Die. I thought that they were fucking badass. They had a lot of attitude, that really like 1-2 beat kind of thing with like the proclamation of their lyrics. It's almost like, I don't know, I almost compared it to like white boy hip hop, but it's just like so much angrier and more rock and roll. So, I mean, angrier than hip hop. I don't know about that necessarily, but it's got the energy is the point, and it's got the rhythmic cadence and all that good stuff. So I love that track. It was really cool, and like I said, I hear Every Time I Die in it with a little bit of pop punk mixed in just to keep it to keep it nice and flashy. So yeah, good job guys. Fucking awesome song, and hopefully we'll hear some more tracks from you guys. So if you guys are listening to this right now, please send me some more. I'd love to hear some more from what you guys do. All right, so we're going to bring the program to a close, but of course I would be reticent to do that if I didn't show you the number one moment from E3, according to me. But before I show you that, and I hate to tease, but I have one more thing to show you before we go ahead to the best moment of E3. And that would happen to be the moment when we saw the South Park video game. Now, the South Park video game was actually friggin' hilarious. So let me go ahead and show you a clip of that really quick. We saw a little bit of it right here. There was this guy right here playing it. That's actually the bathroom to a strip club right here. So yeah, that was hilarious. That was a lot of fun. And actually they showed an entire section from the video game. So you go down to the Spearmint Hippo. That's what it's called in the game. The Spearmint Hippo. It's take on Spearmint Rhino, obviously. And you've got to solve a mystery with Scott Malkinson, who has diabetes, of course. And you can actually shove the guy who's like peeing and his pee goes everywhere. And if you want to use the bathroom, you can, although I usually don't because that's kind of gross. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on with the game, but it's actually going to be coming out this year in October, and it's going to take a heavy token from the Stick of Truth. I don't know if any of you guys got to play that one, but Stick of Truth was the the first delving into video games that they had done for Trey Parker and Matt Stone in South Park, at least in several years anyways. So that was what was really interesting, was the fact that they were able to make good video games at long last. It's definitely been a little while since a good South Park game came out, for sure. But this one looks promising, and it's gonna be making fun of all the Marvel superhero shit. So definitely follow this, especially if you're a South Park fan. I highly recommend it. Like I said, everything that I saw from that game looks really, really good as well. All right, but all of that pales in comparison to what I personally consider the number one moment at E3, and I'm gonna have to explain this one very methodically, because honestly, like, one of the things that's hilarious about this to me is the fact that I didn't expect this to happen at all. I was actually kind of bummed out because they were making me wait forever to do the Forza thing, but what ended up happening while I was waiting for the Forza thing, they ended up pulling up this whole like dance project for the game Just Dance, the Xbox game. And so what ended up happening was the guy, the singer Cisco, who's famous for songs like the Thong song, that thong, 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 and what's his name, and Unleashed the Dragon. The guy who did those two songs got on stage with a plethora of people, including a guy dressed in a strawberry costume, and played the entire song to 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars, and all of them got on stage and danced to the Xbox game together. And it was just incredible. Now, I'm a music, this is primarily a music blog and a music, vlog and everything, and it's a radio station too. So honestly, I do feel biased in saying that my number one E3 moment was a music moment. When you guys see this clip right here, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, because this moment was pure magic, 24 karat magic, shall we say, in the air. I'll never do that again, I promise. So anyways, yeah, let me go ahead and play that video, and that was my number one moment from E3. Once again, thank you very much to everybody who got me passes to E3. I really appreciate it. And I hope to go next year too. Hopefully I'll get a little bit more access next time. I got a media access, which is pretty good. But like I'd love to come with more cameras. I'd love to cover the event a little bit more thoroughly. So hopefully they'll give me the chance to do that. And if they do, then this will be a fun few years of video game coverage for the company. But I do want to mention one thing, that a lot of the video game coverage that we're going to be doing is going to be switching over to a new company that I'm going to be announcing pretty soon. It's actually going to be part of like my whole like retro video game interest, and I'm doing a side company that's dedicated to that. So there'll be more word on that in the coming days. But yeah, that's the last of that, and let me go ahead and pull up the Cisco dance clip, and we'll call it a night. Thank you everybody who tuned in tonight. This is Crimson Media Radio E3 special. Thanks to tuning in for the bands. Once again, that was Table for Six, Takers and Leavers, and From Zero to Hero. All excellent acts, if I do say so myself. Hopefully you catch you guys in future weeks. Here is Cisco having a dance off with the Xbox crew, and it was the best part of E3 for sure. I'll see you guys next week. I think we're going to be talking to Ravenscroft. I'm trying to confirm that with them right now, but I saw them at the Viper Room last week, and they were awesome, so we're going to be talking about them either way. Check you guys next week. Crimson Media Radio.